This week on Engage the Sage.
Hi, everyone. I'm Don Saucier. Welcome to this week's episode of Engage the Sage. This week, we're going to talk about things that you can do at the mid-semester point to optimize your teaching and maximize your students' learning. But first, some congratulations are in order. You've made it through halfway through the semester. You've dealt with challenges. You've tried innovative practices. You've had a lot of contact with your students, and you've done some grading. Oh my God, you've done some grading. And this is an amazing point for us to reflect on the things that we've done so far to make sure that the rest of the semester is going to be the best that it can be for our teaching and our students' learning. At the mid-semester point, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of interactions with our students. We have a lot of demonstrations of their work, and we have a lot of our own experiences that we can reflect on. So this is a wonderful time to take that data, to reflect on that data, and decide anything that we want to do to continue or revise throughout the rest of the semester to make it great. It's also important to recognize at the mid-semester point, I'm tired, and you're tired, and our students are tired. And this is a really good time for us to try to think about ways that we can reinvigorate the energy in our classes. And we can think about how to bring peace back to those classes, that preparation, that expertise, that authenticity, that caring, and that engagement to make teaching great for us and great for our students. We have 5 recommendations that we're going to make for things that you can do now at the mid-semester point to optimize that class moving forward. And hopefully there's some things that you're doing throughout the semester, but the mid-semester point is really a good time to start to do these intentionally if you haven't been. The first recommendation we have for the mid-semester is check in on your students. Ask how they're doing. Go to Zoom meetings early and chat with them. If you have a face-to-face class, chat with them at the beginning of class, but ask how they're doing. One of the most creative ways that I've seen people decide how to ask how their students are doing in class, I'm taking from a colleague of mine named Tracy Brimhall, and she has people use their pandemic nicknames. And the way that people have pandemic nicknames is your first name is the emotion you're feeling most deeply right at that moment, and your last name is the last food that you ate. So for instance, my name right now would be Engaged Yogurt. The really cool thing about pandemic nicknames is what you can do is you can actually have this fun little activity that students can engage in, but you're really asking a deep question about what their emotional state is. And then you're showing that you care about them by taking note of that and responding in a way to both validate their feelings and maybe hope them to alleviate any anxiety that they might be feeling that could be related to your class. You also may want to check on your students by doing a formal evaluation of your course at that point. So maybe you want to ask your students what you've done so far that they've liked. Maybe what you've done so far that they've really found fulfilling. Maybe what you've done so far that's really been confusing or something that they were surprised you were doing in your class. You could ask them about things that were unclear. You could ask them about things that they didn't see the value of. You could even ask them how they feel about the assessments that you've given them. Did they enjoy how you're doing reflections? Did they enjoy how you were testing their information and how they were given the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge? Now, it may be the case that if you do a formal mid-semester evaluation, your students might tell you that there are some things about their class that they don't like. And what this might be, I'm not saying you necessarily have to change something based on the student's feedback, but it might give you some information to think about whether or not you have really made clear what the point of that assessment was or the point of that policy was. So if you're not going to revise those kinds of things, it might be a real good opportunity for you to convey to your students what your thinking was about including those things, and maybe an opportunity to articulate your teaching philosophy and have that match your teaching practices. The second thing we recommend that you do at the mid-semester point is reflect on your students' performances. You have grades now. You have their performances on probably a lot of different assessment tools. How are they doing? Are they doing them the way that you wanted them to? Are they doing them in a way that clearly reflects the student learning outcomes you have in your class? Are they getting them in on time? Are they missing them? And what this might do is it might suggest to you maybe what you're teaching isn't reflecting well on what the assessments of that material is. Maybe there needs to be a more direct connection between what you're teaching and how you're assessing your students. It might be an indication to you that those assignments need more clarity. Maybe you need to do an overview of the kind of ways that you might maximize their success in those kinds of things. I know in one of my courses, I just made a video telling them the top 10 ways to succeed on exams in this class. Reflecting on their performances now might provide you with a real opportunity moving forward to help them better demonstrate their learning and to make sure your teaching is mapping onto your assessments effectively. The third recommendation we have for what you can do at the mid-semester point is to remind your students explicitly that you care about them. Tell them you care about them. Tell them you care about their learning and show that in your teaching practices. Remind them that you are there to help them. Invite them to your student hours. Do the kinds of things that you think will promote their learning and their success. This might be a good time to remind them of the value of the syllabus, to remind them about upcoming assignments that they have that are going to be put out there as opportunities for them to demonstrate their learning moving forward. This might be a great time to remind your students that they might be having trouble. They might want to reach out to you, either over Zoom, coming to your student hours in person, whatever is the way that you're connected with your students. But let them know that part of your mission in that class is to promote their success. And if they have questions or concerns, you are open to hearing them. And as I said at the beginning, mid-semester time it's a really good time to make sure that we're bringing peace to our classes. So thinking about how we can show our students our preparation, our expertise, our authenticity, our caring, and our engagement. The fourth recommendation we have for what you can do at the mid-semester is to check in on yourself. How has the semester gone for you? In your classes, what has been the most fulfilling part? What assignments have really been amazing for you in seeing the demonstration of the learning that you've engaged in with your students? If there are assignments and policies that aren't working, now might be the time to think about what you can do to revise them this semester or even to revise them for next semester. If the classroom is not the oasis that you want it to be, where all of those other personal and professional distractions and concerns kind of fall away while we spend this time learning with our students, well, then how can we make that the oasis again? How can we make the class the fulfilling place that we all want it to be? Checking in at yourself at the mid-semester point and finding out what is really working for you and fulfilling for you and valuable for you, and then trying to maximize those experiences intentionally for the remainder of the semester, I think is time well spent. And the fifth thing that we recommend that you do at the mid-semester point is to celebrate the fact that you got here. The challenges that you faced, the interactions that you've had, the teaching that you've done, all of that is amazing. And I think it's time to take a moment to breathe and to understand that you've done a great job and you still have some work to do, but you can use the really good work that you've done so far as a foundation for finishing your semester strong. So we've given you 5 recommendations for things that you can do at the mid-semester point to optimize your experience as a teacher in that class. And remember, our teaching philosophy is that your experience trickles down to your students' experience and then impacts their learning. So 5 ways that we can maximize your experience in your class to maximize your students' learning. In the comments, I would love to see what you're doing at the mid-semester to maximize your experience and the learning of your students. And I'd also love to hear how your semesters are going. So hopefully we can do these things at the mid-semester point as a foundation for a great rest of the semester. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and share us on social media. And we will see you next time on Engage the Sage.